Have you ever replayed a conversation in your mind over and over again, wondering if you said something wrong? Maybe after talking to someone, your mind starts asking questions like, did I sound strange? Did they misunderstand me? What if they think badly of me now? For some people, this type of thinking happens almost automatically. Their mind constantly analyzes words, facial expressions, and even the smallest details of social interactions. This pattern is commonly known as overthinking. It becomes a daily mental habit that feels nearly impossible to stop. But what many people don't realize is that overthinking is often not just a personality trait or a flaw. Very often, it has deep roots in early life experiences, specifically how we were treated as children. For many, the habit of overthinking begins in childhood, especially during moments of emotional rejection. When a child experiences constant criticism or a lack of acceptance, their world begins to feel unsafe. To a child, rejection from a caregiver or peer isn't just hurtful, it's a threat to their sense of belonging and security. In response, the brain develops a survival mechanism called hypervigilance. You learn to scan for danger. You start analyzing a parent's tone of voice or the slight shift in a friend's expression to predict if rejection is coming. The logic is simple. If I can predict their disapproval, I can change myself to avoid the pain of being rejected again. You become a master at reading others, often at the expense of understanding your own needs and feelings. Children naturally depend on connection, love, and acceptance from the people who care for them. When a child feels supported and emotionally safe, their brain learns that relationships are a place of comfort and trust. This foundation allows them to explore the world with confidence, knowing they have a secure base to return to. But when a child repeatedly experiences rejection, criticism, or emotional neglect, something very different can happen. The brain's priority shifts from exploration and growth to protection and survival. The child may begin to feel uncertain about their value and about how others see them. They might start asking themselves questions like, why am I not accepted? Did I do something wrong? Because the brain wants to protect the child from emotional pain, it begins to pay extremely close attention to social signals. It becomes alert to tone of voice, facial expressions, and subtle changes in behavior from others. Over time, this heightened sensitivity can become deeply wired into the mind, forming a lifelong social radar. This isn't a defect, it's a remarkable adaptation. The brain is trying to predict rejection before it happens. We call this hypervigilance. The child becomes an expert at reading others, even when they don't realize they're doing it. In our evolutionary history, being rejected by the group meant danger. For a child, it feels like a threat to their safety. So, the brain prioritizes fitting in and being good over its own emotional needs to ensure it stays connected. They might learn to hide their true feelings or change their behavior just to avoid another moment of rejection. As they grow, this sensitivity can make it hard to trust others, even when they are being genuinely kind. The old radar is still running, looking for those same signs of disapproval that were so painful in childhood. It is so important to remember that this reaction is natural. It was the brain's way of keeping the child safe. You were a child trying to survive in an environment that didn't feel emotionally secure. Your brain tries to fix the past by dissecting it, hoping to find a way to prevent future pain, even though the moment has already passed. You might also worry excessively about how others perceive you, even when there is no clear reason to believe something is wrong. This constant self-monitoring comes from a place of wanting to belong and a deep-seated fear of being cast out once again. Small comments or subtle facial expressions can suddenly feel very significant, as if they hold a hidden, negative message just for you. A short text response or a slight pause in a conversation becomes a puzzle that your mind feels compelled to solve at any cost. In some cases, you might assume that others are judging you or secretly disapproving of you despite their outward kindness. This mind reading is actually a projection of your own insecurities, born from the times you weren't accepted for who you are. Because your mind is constantly scanning for possible rejection, your thoughts can become incredibly intense and repetitive. It's like a security system that's too sensitive, sounding the alarm at every shadow, leaving you in a state of constant high alert. Over time, this mental habit can create deep anxiety and self-doubt. It makes it hard to trust the genuine connections you have. The emotional exhaustion is real. Carrying the weight of 1,000 what-ifs is a heavy burden for anyone to bear alone. There's something important to understand. Overthinking does not mean you are weak or flawed. It often means your mind learned to become extremely aware to protect you. What looks like anxiety today may have once been a survival strategy for a younger version of yourself trying to stay safe. Your brain was trying to avoid being rejected or hurt. It's an adaptation, not a failure. As we grow older, the brain continues trying to protect itself from future rejection by using a very specific strategy. One way it does this is by constantly analyzing social situations, looking for patterns that might signal another potential hurt. The mind may replay conversations again and again, searching for possible mistakes or subtle signs of disapproval. In this state, every word said and every word left unsaid is scrutinized under a mental microscope. The mind may imagine different scenarios, trying to predict how others might react before a word is even spoken. It's like playing a game of social chess where you're constantly trying to stay 3 steps ahead of any possible rejection. From the outside, this looks like overthinking, but from the brain's perspective, it is actually a survival strategy. It is a mechanism designed to avoid emotional pain and ensure that you remain part of the social group. If the mind can analyze every detail, maybe it can prevent embarrassment or criticism before it even happens. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, a heightened state of alertness to any potential threat in your social environment. Evolutionarily, being rejected by the tribe meant literal danger. Your brain is simply using old tools for modern social life. But while it's trying to help, this protective strategy can become incredibly exhausting for the modern mind. Instead of creating safety, it often traps the person in endless cycles of doubt, worry, and profound mental fatigue. The very mechanism meant to save us from pain often becomes the source of our deepest internal distress. As you grow up, this radar doesn't just turn off. It follows you into your adult relationships and workplace. That's why a simple "we need to talk" or a quiet room can send your mind into a tailspin of overanalysis. It's important to realize that your overthinking is actually your brain trying to keep you safe from a past pain. You aren't broken and you aren't too much. You are just operating on a system that was built to survive. Awareness is the first step. When you catch yourself overthinking, try to acknowledge the child inside who is scared. You can tell yourself, "I am safe now. I don't need to analyze everything to be accepted." When you realize your brain is just trying to protect you, you can begin to gently release the grip of that worry. Try to have compassion for that part of you. It's working hard, but it doesn't need to work quite this hard anymore. We can learn to tell our brains that we are safe now, and that we don't need to analyze every single shadow in our path. Your thoughts are meant to be a tool for navigation, not a cage that keeps you from living your life to the fullest. The first step toward healing is recognizing that you are safe now, and that the rejection of the past doesn't define your present worth. When you catch yourself spiraling, try to pause. Ask yourself, is this a fact or is this my past talking? Give yourself space to breathe. Grounding yourself in the present moment can help quiet the noise of overthinking and bring you back to what is actually happening. Be gentle with yourself. You're unlearning a habit that was once meant to protect you. That process takes time and immense patience. Every time you choose to trust yourself over your fears, you are growing stronger and more resilient than you were before. Surround yourself with people who make you feel seen and accepted. Healthy relationships are the best antidote to the fear of rejection. You deserve connections that feel like a soft place to land, where your thoughts can finally find a moment of peace and stillness. You are worthy of love and belonging just as you are. Healing involves retraining the brain to recognize when it is finally safe and truly accepted. We can build new pathways based on trust, boundaries, and genuine self-love. When we surround ourselves with people who value us, that old sensitivity can finally begin to soften. The most encouraging part of this story is something scientifically profound. Your mind is truly capable of change. Through neuroplasticity, we know that the brain isn't fixed. We can actually rewire the pathways that lead to constant overthinking. Once someone begins to understand where their overthinking truly comes from, the shift begins. It's about finding the root. You can slowly start creating a completely different relationship with your thoughts. One where you are the observer, not the victim. Imagine your thoughts as clouds. They pass by, but they are not the sky itself. You are the sky, vast and unchanging. Instead of criticizing themselves for overthinking, people can begin to approach their own minds with deep compassion and patience. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't yell at a flower for not blooming. You'd give it more water and sunlight. Patience is the bridge between where you are now and the peace you deserve. It takes time to unlearn years of patterns. With time, consistent self-awareness, and supportive relationships, the brain starts to feel safe enough to let go. The brain can finally learn that it no longer needs to stay in constant alert mode. It can finally step down from its guard. Healing does not happen instantly. It's a series of small, quiet victories, each one a breath of fresh air for your soul. Every moment of understanding and self-acceptance creates more space for a calmer and more peaceful mind to flourish. When we stop fighting ourselves, we open the door to the very peace we've been searching for all along. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that every person deserves to feel safe, valued, and accepted exactly as they are. You are not your overthinking. You are the person underneath it, and that person is worthy of immense peace. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve emotional safety. These aren't just goals, they are your fundamental rights. The journey might feel long, but you are already on the path. Every time you choose compassion over criticism, you win. Progress isn't always linear. Some days will be harder than others, and that is perfectly okay. Just keep going. You are your own light. The awareness you are building right now is the lantern that will guide you through the fog. Today, I invite you to be a little kinder to your mind. It's been doing its best to protect you, even if it's been overworking. Peace isn't just a destination, it's the space you create for yourself right here in this very moment. Thank you for watching. If this helped you understand your own mind a bit better, feel free to share it with a friend. I'll see you in the next video. Stay curious and stay kind to yourself.